Today, we are joined by the amazing Helena Klaus. She is the co-founder of a community called SDRs of Germany, where people, specifically German-speaking people, come together to learn, become better salespeople, and inspire each other to be even better at their craft. But the interesting thing is, before Helena started her, sales career, she was actually building up her acting career, which is something we're going to dive into, you could say. But for now, Helena, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure, and welcome to the Founder Lore podcast.
Thank you so much for the invite. I feel very honored to be here, and I'm very excited to have the time with you, really. And thank you so much for the introduction. It was lovely. You should introduce me more often.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. Amazing. So, Helena, now to kick things off, right? You, before you entered into the world of sales, became an SDR, started your own company. You spent years building a career in acting, right? What I want to know is what initially drew you to acting, because I know arts, they're used to express yourself, right? So what initially drew you to acting, and in terms of passion and fulfillment, what did it mean to you?
That's a very good question. And the question is, I guess my question is, how long is the podcast? To keep it short, I made the decision to become an actress when I was 11, because I'm the youngest of three sisters, and I felt like in a very loud household, I have a tendency of just quieting down. I have a tendency of balancing people out, and having said that, my sisters and I are my sisters are my best friends. But from there, I felt like I couldn't really say what I wanted to say, just because I feel like I would naturally be quiet. Whereas when I was on stage the first time, I realized, oh wow, I actually have a voice, and I can actually take my time, and I can actually experience the feelings. I can actually dive into that world. And then from there it grew and grew, and it turned out that I am absolutely fascinating until today, fascinated by stories, like fascinated how stories can inspire people. One of the reasons why I co-founded SDRs of Germany as well, because I feel like when you learn from each other, then you will naturally grow individually and together. So one of our slogans is collaboration over competition, for instance. And I started working as an actress when I was 16. I moved to Berlin, had my first theater engagement, and it was all very exciting, all very interesting. And then sometimes you had really awful engagements when you're like, I just want to leave, and then sometimes great jobs. So from there, I've learned a lot about characters. I've learned a lot about analyzing characters, understanding the storyline of a play, which is in the end nothing else than understanding the storyline of a sales call, or a storyline of your prospect, or a storyline of the company. So the reason why I ended up in sales was not because I chose to. And I don't think I've ever met someone who ever ended up in sales because they were born to be in sales. They're like, I knew from day dot, this is where I'm going to go. What actually happened is passionate baby Helena, being an actress. By then I studied in London, studied in New York, moved to London 2018, was working in London as an actress and voiceover artist. And then the pandemic hit. So my final engagement was actually with the Russian theater in London. End of Feb was, I think, 26th or so was the final, the final show. And then obviously March hit. And I was like, sweet, I guess I'm going to live off my savings for a little while. 6 months in, I was really, really broke. And I'm like, I need to find a way of making money ASAP. And my brother-in-law actually said, well, you as an actress have very transferable skills to go into sales. So I started as an SDR, sales development representative, if you guys don't know what that is, and in a SaaS company. It was very shocking how much fun it was when from 11 years old, I always thought that the only way where I'm going to be happy is acting, is on stage, is in front of a camera. Like I'm going to, this is what I want to do. And then when I started doing sales, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I have more than one passion. And then from there, I worked my way up, SDR, account executive. One big thing here, which I very much emphasize, is at the beginning, I did not hit my target, not even close. I entered the
Yeah.
sales world and I thought I was supposed to be the elbow out suit, big ballsy girl that, you know, America shows or that you think of when you think of a salesperson. Ideally, I grow a beard and have a penis. That was the last thing that I needed to really succeed in sales, right? So I was like
And
really
smoke
growing.
cigarettes every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. Smoke cigarettes, just like stand there in that fancy office and listening to jazz and having a cognac in my hand. Yeah, nah, that's not
Yeah.
really how it goes, especially not in the startup world. So at the beginning, I thought I have to be like that, and obviously, I didn't hit any numbers. The first month I had 0. Second month I had 30, 33, literally 33, like a third. And I was like, I am working my butt off here. I'm working so hard. I'm staying longer than everyone else. I'm starting earlier. I'm working on weekends. My manager told me of so many times when he was like, Helena, you will burn out. You have to stop. And I'm like, no, I can't because I have a target. I have a target on my back. I need. And that's when it clicked. That was when I was like, wait a minute. Sales is literally like acting. It's a storyline. It's
Yeah.
understanding the character in front of you. It's active listening. It's empathy. It's asking the right questions. The first thing that you do as an actor when you get a character is you ask the question, why do they do what they do? What makes them
Yeah.
do this? Like, what has happened to get them to that point? And that's what I have to understand as a seller as well. The moment I combined those points, that was the moment when my sales career kind of went nuts. I was like top performer over the next 10
Interesting.
months, got 2 promotions within a year, hit my account executive target by 340% plus my yearly quota. And everyone was like, oh, Helena, you're great. And it was like, no, it has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with the skills that you can transfer. It has something to do with every one of us has something to bring to the table. And when we accept that and
Interesting.
when we allow that to actually channel, then sales naturally will grow because it's authenticity. It's like the
Yeah.
people will trust you. So I did that, and then I met Mattia, my co-founder at
Yeah.
SDRs of Germany, and she was like, "Wouldn't it be great to have a German-speaking community?" Because we were both SD. Well, she was an SDR by then. I was an account executive. She reached out to my former manager. My former manager then got in touch with me and was like, "Hey, don't you want to meet up?" And I'm like, "You know what? Why not?" So we met up at a pub, and she's like, wouldn't it be great to have a place where just German speakers are talking about sales? Because that has never been there before. It's always Americanized, which again isn't authentic to the German speaking market. And I was like, yeah, sure. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So we started as more of a hobby, and then it grew so much so fast that 6 months later I
Yeah.
quit my job. A month later, Mattia quit her job, and then we went in full time and have built the biggest sales community in DACH. So
This
that's the
this
journey.
just That's and it's so interesting that you mentioned all of that, right? Because I'm curious, right? Shifting from something as deeply passionate as acting to sales, it's a big decision, right? And for you, that decision came in the pandemic. But it seems like you didn't take that decision right away because I did some research and you were still recording self tapes in the pandemic, if I'm not wrong. So my question basically is, what did it take for you to convince yourself to leave behind a career that you loved and were so passionate about and to basically start from zero in a new career?
Good research. Respect. The thing is I never left acting. I'm still working as an actress. I'm still doing my acting gigs. I still have auditions. I'm still working with casting directors in Amazon, Netflix, and that's great and I love that. But I knew it felt a bit like the first 6 months, like the from okay, pandemic hit to now I need to get a job. The only reason that kept me from doing it is my ego, and that's something that I had to suck up. I was just
Interesting.
like, you know what? It's just my ego saying, I told everyone that I'm going to be I can't, I have to stay true to my art, true to,
Oh, yeah.
myself. When you realize actually you're not just one thing. I am not just an actress. I'm Helena. And as part of being Helena, I have these skills. I recently listened to a podcast, Diary of a CEO, and one of the podcast episodes
Steve
was
about it.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, I love Diary of a CEO. One of the episodes was about finding your purpose. And the thing that he actually spoke about, which I thought was fascinating, is we currently praise the 20-year-old founders who make $1 billion a month because they had that one idea. But the problem is they don't have the time to actually figure out what makes them happy. So trying different things, learning new skills, and realizing that actually the thing that I thought would make me happy in that time, which 100% is true, now I can
Yeah.
extend that. It's not leaving it, because I don't think I can ever leave acting, and I will always work as an actress. But there is a lifestyle that I had to build to, first of all, support it without burning out. Because as an actor, I was a tour guide, I was a covering teacher, I was a waitress, I was a fitness guy, what do you call it? Fitness trainer, um,
Instructor.
instructor, exactly. So you have to do all of that in order to support acting. When sometimes when you shift your focus and you do something that is transferable to what you currently do, you learn new things. Like Steve Jobs did a calligraphy course, right? And then from there, Apple turned into a artist, like a designer tool almost, because he took that
Yeah.
stupid little class. Never ever underestimate the skills that you bring to the table, how you can further develop it. And you don't, life isn't black and white. Life will never be black and white. If I want to go full-time acting now, then I can do that. But then I know I wouldn't use that other side of my brain that I really like to use by now to then build a business. And now finding the good balance. I'm not sure. Did that answer your question?
That did actually. That made a lot of sense. And I think you came to a point where you understood that it's almost you didn't have a choice because the pandemic hit, and I read that you were struggling to keep paying the bills. Let's say you knew that you needed a check to start living again, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to the acting point, you trained for years to become an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And actors, they're known to have this certain level of confidence around them. My question is, was there a moment in your sales career where you converted a prospect to a paying customer and you thought to yourself, I owe this sale to my acting skills?
I feel like, to be completely honest with you, every deal I
Okay.
closed, I owe to my acting skills. And not because,
Well,
and here's one big point that people do not get. Actors, as
okay.
well as good sellers, don't lie. You're not pretending to be. You're not, that's what I said at the beginning. Like, don't pretend to be the elbow out, big bubble entering the office.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be authentic, especially nowadays. You need to be authentic. They will Google, they will look at your competitors, they will check the best price if you don't help them to understand that they can trust you, that they can trust in your word, that you are trustworthy, and that what you say is actually a value, actually a solution. So I would say every deal that I closed was based on building trust, making sure that they know that what I say is actually true, that I'm in their team. It was based on active listening, making sure that when I look at someone and they are having like a little, I always use the eyebrow because people often speak through their eyebrows. So if I see the eyebrow moving in a specific way, I know, okay, there's a specific doubt. So I stop talking and I ask, oh,
Interesting.
I see you're having a thought. Talk me through your thought. Where is your mind right now? And then I understand them. And that is what happened through acting, because all you do is you don't say your lines, you respond to someone else's line. So you need to understand, what is the person doing to me and what do I then do to them? It's like a back and forth tennis match. And exactly, it's literally the same as in sales. So I would say every deal I closed is based on the acting skills that I have learned. And one other thing that I would like to add is, just in terms of confidence, when I started in sales and my brother-in-law, I was like, oh my God, I'm an imposter. This is all wrong. And then my brother-in-law, who was also working in sales, he's like, Helena, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. And at some point, you kind of have to accept the fact that you will never, ever know everything. And that is okay. You have to own the fact that you are here today with the knowledge that you have. And if someone has a question that you don't know, then you can absolutely say, actually, that's a great question. No one ever asked me that question. Let me get back to you on that. Like little things like that. There's a confidence in knowing that there's a confidence in not being confident, if that makes sense. Like in knowing that you don't have it all, you know? And I think that's super, super, super important because yes, confidence is being built, but confidence is being built through actions and through results. So there's an action, you see a result, and then you either get confidence or you don't get confidence. So if you do an action and you don't see the result, then you automatically are not confident. So if you're not confident in your sales game or in your acting game or wherever you are, then that's not on you, that's on the action you start. So maybe you should put in a different action. Maybe you should hang out with different people. Maybe you should try a new approach. Maybe you're not a cold caller. Maybe you're a social seller. Maybe you're not a social seller. Maybe you're a cold caller. Like try something that gives you results, that get you the confidence to then try new things.
Wow, this feels like it's a masterclass in life. Actually, I absolutely love listening to how you broke it down because I think it applies to so many things. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And there's one thing I want to point out. As a founder or a co-founder, you could say, up until the point that you quit, the last salary that you were earning was 126,000 per year, but you still decided to step down and start your company, right? And be with your co-founder and start running SDRs of Germany. But my question is, were there any moments of doubts where you thought after becoming a founder that you probably screwed up, shouldn't have quit your sales job?
I think the only question, or do you ask that question because you want to know, I feel like I fucked up because I'm not earning the money anymore?
I want to, because having a salary is safe. Being a founder, everything depends on you, right? Everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, do you feel like you missed that security, or do you feel like even if I'm fucking up right now, I know that this is the right journey for me?
Yeah. The first thing that I tell everyone and I firmly stand behind, and that has really gotten me to a point where I'm content, is peace may guide you. Not joy, not fear. So if you're afraid of losing control and you stay somewhere, then you're making decisions based on fear. If you're hyper about, oh my freaking, I really want to win the Oscar tomorrow. I'm going to quit everything. I'm going to move to LA, and, you know, I don't have a flat, but that's okay. I don't have an agent, but that's okay. And I'm just going to go. You can do that when you're like 19, 20, but at some point, you know, then joy, that is also a very dangerous card to play. Peace, however, is an inner voice. It's the silence. It's the whisper. It's that part of like, no, I have to do that. So that's the one thing that I want to say at the beginning. The other part is, and one thing that maybe you found that out in your research as well, is when I moved to London, I lost all of my money. Right, I lost all of my money to a scam, to a property scam,
To a fraud. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine you're 11 years old, you know you want to become an actor, you know you'll need money, so you save all of your money, from Christmas money to birthday money to any money that you ever earned. You put that on a savings account. And then when you move to London after your studies, you can finally, like, you use that to find a flat, etc., etc. So I lost it all within like a day. And I was really, I want to say broken, but I wasn't broken. I was just really down. I was like, okay, now I'm at a fork. I was living in the living room of my sister on a air mattress, and I was like, either I stay or I go. So I go back to Germany and I start all over again. I move in with my parents. And I talked to my dad, and my dad's response was amazing because I was so ashamed. That was probably the biggest part. I was shame. How could I ever trust blah, 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 blah. And my dad was like, no, Helena. That's not you. That's not your identity. When I look at you, I see a lioness. I see a fighter. I see a warrior. You got this. And I'm like, we are with you. Your mom and I were with you. It's okay. You got this. So I pushed through. I moved into a flat that was that had a bed in it, and I could touch when I lie down. I could touch both walls with my feet and my arms. The fridge was in the garden, so for during winter I couldn't I couldn't
Yeah, I
get
read that
access to the
too.
fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was really, very funny. From there, growing that, I must say, I believe in God, so I'm a Christian, which also helped for me as well, like being able to pray. And
Hmm.
the most amazing things happened every time when I thought, oh, I can't fill my fridge this week. I found Oyster cards. Like I found 5 Oyster cards in one day. Oyster card, for those who don't know what it is, it's a card that you can prepay for London, for the London tube system, and then you can get a refund of it. So whenever you have a card, you get like, you put like 10 quid on it or 10 pounds on it, and then if you refund it, then you get that money back. I found 5 Oyster cards in one day, and never happened that I've never found an Oyster card ever again, just on the day when I thought this is going to be tight. And I could pay for my food. And
Hmm.
then the next thing came, and then the next thing came. And guess what? The moment I quit my job, I had like 4 commercial jobs a week in acting, which paid the bills. But I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this before, before I quit my job. It was just that whisper. It was that peace that led me to it. To answer your question, I have never
Hmm.
thought I should have stayed in the job. I've never thought that. There were times when people asked me that, and there were times when, I never had that feeling of like, oh, regret. I had I had thoughts, just to clarify that. I had thoughts of, oh, I wonder how my life would have been if I stayed in the job. But by the time I quit, I spent more time thinking about running the other company than thinking about running my normal job. And I think that's often a sign when people say, "Oh, when should I quit?" There are 2 things that I highly stand behind. It's number 1, make sure that you know when the next money is coming in, because you don't, not because
Hmm.
you don't believe in your dream, not because you don't believe in your company, but because you do have to pay your bills. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to get into anxiety and emotional burnout. This is why, make sure we
Yeah.
knew June I quit, in September the first money came in. And the other part is, quit when you spend more time thinking about the other company than about your day job, because that's usually a sign of like, okay, wow, now I'm already in it. I'm already in it without even knowing it. So afterwards, for me, and the reason why I told you the whole long story with the scam, is security is one thing, but I certainly believe money will come in one way or the other. You can always find another job. If it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. I find a new job, and I just have learned tons. I personally see life as everything you do, it's like an exchange for an experience. You want control, or you
Yeah.
want the security, because the money isn't getting you anywhere. The money is getting you an experience of, oh, I can buy a house. Oh, I can pay for food. Or I can feel safe. That's an experience in your life. Whereas for me, I at that point was, I didn't have children, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have that feeling of, okay, that's really an experience that I want to do. I had a time of saying, you know what? I want to start something. I'm an entrepreneur either way, because as an actor, you are an entrepreneur
Yeah.
anyway. I'm Helena Inc. That's my company. And from there, I think it is, I think it's a dangerous thing to live your life based on the fear of losing control, rather than to allowing
Hmm.
life to be an experience after experience, learning new skills, which again brings me to the beginning of what I said. Learning new skills, understanding that you have a skill set, that you grow the skill set in different areas, will help you understand what you're really good at and what will make you happy down the line, if that makes sense.
That 100% makes sense. And I myself changed careers about 3 years ago, so I kind of relate to some of the stuff that you told me. There was there was an Instagram post that you made, and there was a specific text portion that you wrote that really made me curious, right? And I wanted to find the right opportunity to ask you about it, and I think now makes the most sense. You, I quote like exactly you wrote, 6 years ago, I wasn't sure how to fill my fridge for the next week. Today, I get to invite my friends over for dinner. Now, the reason I want to mention this, Helena, is I'm sure there's a reason why you made this specific analogy or example, right? Because getting to eat something or having food, I think that is on a basic level, that is something obviously every human needs, right? But for you to quote that, I think coming so far from that moment where you felt like you couldn't even you needed cards to eat. You couldn't even fill the fridge. To being able to invite friends over for food, how does that make you feel coming all the way here?
That's a very good question. And I love that you picked that up. I feel honored that you spend so much time on the research, really. Massive
Of course.
compliment from my side. Um, I think for me, when I was really struggling as an actress, and I was really like, I didn't get the jobs. I got to the final of a massive West End show and I didn't get the job. I got to the final of a massive Netflix show. I didn't get the job. And you're just like, why? And at some point I was asked the question, Helena, how do you define success? Is the definition of success standing on a big stage, or is the definition of success being able to have a great relationship with your parents or with your siblings, or being able to have a holiday each year? Like what is it that needs, like, that makes you feel successful? And what I've noticed is the picture that I always had of me in the future is being at a massive table with all of my friends and family. I invite everyone with my partner and we all serve them with food, and we have loads of colorful lights and just like color, like beautiful, loud table. Um, and I
Yeah.
realized for me, the success is being able to invite friends for dinner, to invite my parents over, like little things like that, to honor someone else. And I know that sounds really cheesy and stuff, but that is actually something that gives me long-term contentment than having a moment of, and that's another thing why, as an actor, it's quite easy to fall into a depression, because one moment you are the king or the queen on stage and everyone applauds you, but the end you leave the theater, no one will recognize you, and you end up in the flat alone because you never invested in relationships, you never invested in friends or family or your partner or whatever. So being able that at the end of the day, at the end of the job, coming home and preparing a dinner for my friends and have them there, and we have music, and that for me is pure success. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to win the Oscar, that I'm not going to get any
Yeah.
achievements or whatever. I'm still going to work for that, but that's a job. That's like winning Forbes 30 under 30 or whatever. It's a job, and you feel honored, you have a great time, but at the end of it, I come home and I get to kiss my partner, and I get to say goodbye, good night to my dog, or like little things like that. That is the actual moment. And I think a lot of people confuse that with, especially social media, when success is supposed to be you're 20 and you're making 1 billion a month because you started a YouTube account. And which is not a wrong
Mm.
thing. It's a great thing, whoever did it, you go girl, you go man, perfect. But I kind of want to take the idea off that this is success for everyone. It was a very long answer, wasn't
Awesome.
it?
No, and I'm really glad that I picked that out, because I knew, see, on paper, or you could say on surface, it looks like a very simple example, right? Like I get to friends invite, or get to invite them, we have food. But the answer that you gave is exactly what I was looking for, because there's such a deeper element involved to it. And I think as humans, the more we strip down success to its basic levels, the more content we're going to be in life. Because what is
Mm,
success, right? Is it money? Okay, where does money end? Money doesn't end, right? There's always more and more. So at what point do you become happy that you're successful now because you've got money, right?
yeah,
So the reason that you broke it down, and I think whoever's watching or listening to this is going to relate to this, because we're really running towards success every single day. But I feel like we need to realign the measures at which we measure success. So thank you
yeah,
so much for that answer. And now I want to move a bit towards LinkedIn, right? Because I
mhm,
want to show founders who are not leveraging it that they could be leveraging it, because there are so many examples out there. And one of them is you, Helena. You've
yeah,
been documenting your journey on LinkedIn for quite a while now. I remember one of your first images that you posted on LinkedIn was about your job. It wasn't about SDRs of Germany. It was, I think, a job shout out to your team. But
mhm.
with time, then you evolved into this co-founder who started documenting their founder's journey. Now you've got a very prominent founder brand. What percentage, my question is this, what percentage of SDR of Germany's success would you attribute to your presence on LinkedIn as a co-founder?
That's a good question. I guess it's a third, because It's my
Okay.
co-founder who has a very big personal brand, me, and the business page. And the business page also has a big personal brand. So having that, well, no, actually, I want to take that less, because we have a beautiful, amazing team of ambassadors. We have like 40 plus ambassadors
Okay.
who are all posting, all supporting SDRs of Germany, or all really believing in the same mission and vision. And that's quite beautiful. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, just Mattia and I, when I know that has been a massive team effort. So it definitely has played a part of it, and I am incredibly glad that I did it. I think everyone who is working with people who are on LinkedIn should build a personal brand on LinkedIn. If your customers are not on LinkedIn, but they're on Instagram, then build a personal brand on Instagram. Like, do it where the people
Yeah.
congregate. So I think it definitely was a game changer for me as well, because I, as a person, are now being invited to, be a speaker at events, be part of podcasts, all of this, which is beautiful, and I feel very honored. It comes because people know you. Like, now I am being recognized on the
Yeah.
street, and that's crazy, but also great, because I could build something that represents also my brand. And that is why I firmly believe in social media, like building personal brands as an entrepreneur. One big thing, though, that I want to emphasize is the company is you, but you are not only the company. So not
Interesting.
only making it about your own company, because eventually, unless you're going to run the company until you die, which is not that likely anymore, because usually you have startups and then they have exits and then you start a new thing, or you
Yeah.
start a company and you become a silent shareholder and then you start a new thing, or a NED, a non-executive director, whatever it is. So this is why one of the advices that I was given, because at the beginning I made it very much about the company, was make it about yourself, because people trust in you, and when they trust in you, they trust in
Yeah.
your business, and that is what
People
I
buy from
definitely
people,
say.
right?
Yeah. So I appreciate that wasn't a clear answer to your question. I would say it definitely had a bigger part than what I thought it would have, but there was a lot of things that played part of it as well. So I do not want to degrade the team that I'm working with, my co-founder, and obviously
Yeah.
the company in general that made that work as well.
I absolutely love that. I think that's a very honest answer because, and one thing that I want to point out is a lot of the times the founders that I've worked with in the past, they are very hell bent on only talking about the business, right? And it kind of makes sense because you're a founder, you're running a business, you want to leverage LinkedIn for it. But at the same time, that personal element plays such a massive role because if people get to know you, they will automatically get to know your business. It's a byproduct, right? Because you're attached to
Mm,
it. But if you only
mm,
talk about the business, people don't get to know you, then it's kind of like, people don't want to know businesses. They want to know the people behind the businesses. And I'm sure for you guys, being co founders, you're running a community, right? SDRs of Germany. For you, trust is absolutely critical because
mm.
what is a community? At the core of it, the community is people who trust each other.
Yeah.
So I think that you guys both as co-founders have really, and the team as well, have really leveraged this channel. In terms of content, you have a very document your journey approach. Do you ever, especially in the beginning, did you ever feel like there were some problems that you faced while creating content, or do you feel like it came to you naturally?
I think before I became a founder, I didn't dare to talk about personal things because I felt like my LinkedIn profile would
Okay.
belong to the company that I work for, right? So I didn't dare to talk about something personal, because what if my colleague sees it, or what if my company says something? And I know there are companies out there who forbid their employees, to post
Yeah.
personal stuff on LinkedIn or anything that has nothing to do with the company. So here's the thing: if in the audience is someone who doesn't allow their employees to build a personal brand, I am sorry, but you are very much limiting yourself. That is not a smart way of doing business, because you will need new employees. You will need more reach. Like, supporting your employees, having their own employer brand, helps you as an employer. A personal brand helps you as an employer and your employer brand. So that's one thing that I really, really want to say at the beginning. So to answer your question, I would say I struggled before I became a founder. When I became a founder, I was like, fuck it. Now I'm all in. Now it's too late anyway, right? What am I gonna do? Because yeah, people either hate it or love it. And I also
You had nothing to lose, basically.
I had nothing to lose. Yeah. And even now, what do we have to lose? The only thing that I have to lose is followers that are digital numbers on a digital like on a software. That's all. I don't lose an arm. I don't lose, it's fine. Try things, be courageous, respect each other. Your freedom ends where the freedom of the other person begins. That is a firm rule, but try things. And in the end, it's a new skill that you learn, or that you say, actually, I don't like this very much. And that's also fine. I do think that the hardest part of it is being consistent, definitely. And also when you definitely saw like there were many posts that just didn't perform. And at the beginning, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm just not interested. Maybe I'm just a boring little, oh my goodness, and out of nowhere you get into your mind, and then your ego kicks in. And the ego is always, like, often, almost all the time, the one that is the reason why you fall, because the ego is trying to protect you, or trying to make you sound better than you are, or make you feel worse than you actually are. So keep your ego in check. Make sure that when the post doesn't perform, learn from it. Understand the algorithm. It's just a system. It's a game. Understand the rules, play the game, win the game, break the game, create a new game.
Awesome. Love that summary and breakdown. There's one last question when it comes to LinkedIn. There's a lot of people confuse consistency with posting every single day. And for founders who are busy people in general, that is paralyzing. It's a lot of pressure, right? So because of that, they don't even end up start posting once, because they feel like they're never going to be able to catch up to 7 days a week, which
Yeah.
I think is wrong. Consistency isn't 7 days a week. So according to you, what is consistency, and how do you feel like you can be consistent throughout without really paralyzing yourself?
Yeah. Very good question. And I very much agree. So that's another point, actually, that just on a side note, every word that you say or that the other one says, always check the definition of it, because some people define it differently. Consistency once every day, others are once every month. For me personally, it comes down to two things. Number one, where do you want to go? And number two, what can you do today? And for me, for instance, it started with 2 days a week. I did every Tuesday and every Thursday. I prepared the post. Sometimes I write it in the morning, but usually I try to, every time when I have an interesting conversation, I write down, I have like a notes pad on my MacBook when I'm like, okay, cool, that's a great post idea. Let me just like write that down right quickly. And then I write it in the morning based on the little ideas. Start with what you can do. I knew I could do 2 days a week. At some point, I was overwhelmed with things and I went down to 1 day a week. Yes, it changed my consistency in that time of like, I need to do 2 days a week, but it's fine because I still created a new consistency with 1 day a week. In the end, you come first. If you don't take care of yourself, no one will take care of your LinkedIn posts. So what consistency can you do? Where do you want to go? I'm now posting, I'm trying to post every day during the week, because I also say during the weekend I do take a break. But by now it does become very natural, because like I have my stand-up meeting with the team, and then I go into LinkedIn, I post the posts, interact with other posts, see what's out there, and then I go into emails and have meetings with people. So I have blockers, actually. I think it is important in between all of that. That's one big thing. LinkedIn can either be great or it can be super overwhelming. So make sure that, like, write down all of the tasks that you want to do on LinkedIn. That can be reacting to posts, commenting to posts, engaging with people, sending connection requests, posting, scheduling posts, etc. I tell you, out of 6 out of these tasks, 5 are automated. Like they can be automated. Make sure that you use the world that you're in, use AI, use the softwares, because in the end, it is saving you 5 hours a week of just trying to send connection requests or something. Like collect the people that you want to request with. Definitely don't just go spray and pray. But there are softwares that help you. There are softwares with scheduling. I know someone who is like on hyper, like 200,000 followers on LinkedIn. She told me that she's scheduling that every Sunday. So every Sunday afternoon, she sits down and she's scheduling the post. And she's a massive, massive influencer on LinkedIn. So some people do it like that. I usually like to do it in the morning. So every morning, half an hour, because then I feel in control of it over it. So yeah, but again, do what you feel like you can do consistently. For me, it was 2 posts a week. Then I realized I am too busy. You know, we're all founders, especially when you start out. I was bootstrapped as well, so we didn't have investors involved. So there was a lot of anxiety. Try to write a very meaningful post when you're literally very anxious about the world and everyone. So I had to go down to 1 because I knew that I can keep that. But it's not about giving up. It's about changing it to make sure that you can stay consistent and then go up again in posts the moment you realize, cool, now I'm in it. Now it's like a machine, really. Did that answer your question?
Love that. Yes, it did, because consistency isn't having to keep up with some standard like 3 or 5 posts a week. It's what works for you at the time, depending on how much you have on your plate. So that was an amazing breakdown, and thank you so much for that answer. And now we're going to move into the last section of this episode, which is the rapid fire section, which I'm really excited about, by the way. I will ask you questions and you only have to answer in 1 or 2 sentence answers.
Okay, that's gonna be tricky.
And they're a bit
Did you hear my answers before?
a tiny bit spicy. No, it's going to be a tiny bit spicy, but it's going to be nice. So the first one that I want to ask you is, if you could inspire the next generation of talent, would it be the next generation of actors, or would it be the next generation of salespeople?
That's a difficult question. I'm so sorry, by the way. I cursed twice, I think, today.
It's
I'm not
fine.
alone.
No worries. I'm glad that you're thinking, because this is exactly why I wanted to put that in.
Very good. I think it would be salespeople, because I have 2 sentences. Okay, hold on.
It's okay. You can go a bit off script. It's fine.
That's a bit difficult because I don't want to step on the actor's toes, right? I would do salespeople because salespeople are more likely to make money faster, and when they're inspired to do something great and do something good for humanity, then they will help the acting people. I think actors very much like if you earn too much money, then you're not a struggling actor anymore, and then there is a feeling of, oh no, I'm not successful, because that's a whole different identity of actors. So yeah, that's my answers.
Love that. Awesome. Sorry for putting you through that, but that's a part of my
No, I love it. I love it.
So awesome. So what is a bigger adrenaline rush for you? Nailing a sales pitch or a live acting performance?
Live acting performance, 100%.
Love that. What is the worst advice you've received as an actress?
Just do what you've been told.
Okay, interesting. And what is the best advice you've received in your sales career?
Oy, oy, oy. I think that was actually an advice from acting, but I am using in sales. Is that okay as well? Because it helped my sales game.
Yeah, of course.
The other person is more important than you.
Oh, that is deep. Love that. London, Berlin, or New York? Which city has influenced you the most in terms of being your best self, and why?
London. Oh, why? London, because in London, I have experienced the most changes in my life, and I have developed the deepest friendships with people.
What is the one thing that you're most grateful for building a community and like SDRs of Germany?
So the first thing that came to mind is the network that I was able to build, like amazing people that I met. Genuinely, like former army, military, going into sales to like crazy stories I've met and like I've
Wow.
heard, and people I've met, and amazing that I learn and I'm in awe of. Part that is behind though is, and because I feel like everyone would say that, and I kind of want to give you something that is a bit more interesting. The part
Okay.
that is behind of is, through that network, I got to realize that I had a massive stereotype of sellers. And when I met everyone, I was like, oh my God, everyone has a story. So the fact that I got to learn and got to grow in the way of meeting new people and have those experience and actually like change my perspective and my
Yeah.
horizon on the topic. That is what I'm super grateful for, because I got to meet so many great people.
I absolutely love that answer because, in summary, I think it would be fair to say that there's a person behind the salesperson, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I think
Yeah.
that's all we live for, right? The stories of people, and we're often so involved in our own life and story that we feel like the other person doesn't have anything behind them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a rabbit hole that I'm going to go into. I don't want to talk about that, but let's this is the
I know
last
what you
one that I
mean.
want to ask you in the rapid fire round. Thank you, appreciate that. What is your biggest I can't believe I pulled that off moment?
Personal or professional?
Both.
I think personally was goodness. There were a couple of them. It's like, well, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But the first one that came to mind was being able to have a long distance relationship to Australia for a year, and not
Oh
knowing
wow.
when we would see each other again because it was a pandemic. So that was, until today, I'm like, oh wow, that's a bit insane, because long distance, and especially Australia and
Yeah.
pandemic. So that was one thing that I'm very grateful for. And the professional one is, I think, no, I got it. I am now in a position that I thought I'd never be in. I got to create a life that allows me to be an actress that isn't worried about earning money. Like, that allows me to, because another thing, that my next step is going to be a producer. So I'm
Hmm.
going to produce work as well. I'm going to
Oh
tell
wow.
stories, because I'm a bit tired of like looking at other people telling me what story I'm supposed to tell. So next to acting and running my company, I will start producing movies. And I can do that because I now am at a financial position to finance that without having to go to big companies that
Or
will
studios
again
and
limit
stuff like
me.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that I'm really, really grateful for, that I got to create that life, and I got to grow in it, and I got to realize I'm not just an actor. I am Helena, and part of Helena is founder, actress, producer, right?
Wow, absolutely love that. And I also, that was the end of the questions, by the way. Thank you so much for such
Mhm.
amazing answers. And I'm sorry to put you through such a tough time in answering those, but at the same time, I kind of enjoyed it because it was fun to watch how struggling you were. But yeah, I
I
really
appreciate.
appreciate this. And obviously, I watched a few clips of your acting as well. There's like a reel about you on IMDb, which is so cool. I was talking to my wife earlier, and I was like, look, who I'm interviewing today, she's on IMDb and she's reels of her acting, and she has awards and stuff, which is absolutely crazy. I wouldn't have thought that I would be in this position if you asked me 6 months ago, right? Because about 3 months ago, I quit my job to start a business because I wanted freedom for my family, because I'm a new father as well. I've got a
Oh,
6.5 month old
nice.
daughter, so
Oh,
it's been a ride,
congratulations.
right? So
Yeah.
thank you. And by talking to people like you and people who are going to listen to this as well, I think there are so many lessons in there, right? Because you were at a time where you felt like you had nothing, and now you have a life that you actually designed for yourself. There are a lot of
Yeah.
takeaways from this, and I think people are going to love this. And I think your network is going to love this too, because I'm sure there are going to be people who hadn't seen that side of you. So thank you
Mm.
for being here and being such an amazing guest. And yeah, I hope you had a good time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Honestly, I think it was one of the best prepared, best interviewed podcast I was ever part of. So really well done, massive compliment, and
Thank you.
yeah, I'm super excited to watch you on LinkedIn, and hope we speak soon again. Anyway.